Okay, part two. I'm rating Homestuck characters for some reason. Webcomic I was super into as a teenager, high school, college, you know the deal. I just watched the first part that I recorded and I learned two things. One, I'm not used to hearing my voice recorded, so I hate that. I hate hearing my voice recorded. But I knew that already. But I also learned two, I'm going way too slow. That took like a half hour, and this is not what I'm supposed to be doing today. I'm supposed to be like cleaning the apartment because Thanksgiving is tomorrow. So I need to go through this way faster. There's way too many people left. Oh my God. Um, but yeah, just kind of I don't know why I'm doing this. I have all these thoughts about Homestuck characters from the past, and listening to Homestuck Made This World really kind of brought all these opinions back. And um, I have no outlet for this. I'm not gonna like blog about Homestuck. I'm not gonna like post about Homestuck, and like I cannot inflict this onto my partner. My partner did not read Homestuck, and like this is way too many opinions to be unloading onto like a person that you love. So this is where I have to do it. Okay. Alpha Kids. Okay, so if you watch the other video, you know the context. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go way faster. You know the context that I started reading end of Act 4, beginning of Act 5. That is kind of the era. I feel like there's kind of three eras of Homestuck, right? There's Acts 1 through 4, that's one era. Act 5, that's the middle era. Act 6, that's the other era. And I feel like people who started reading, you can tell what kind of fan they are depending on like what era they started reading. I feel like that is like very informative. So like I'm just unfortunately I'm not going to have the love for the Alpha Kids that people who started reading during Act Six usually have, because I was one of those people reading it serially where everything was just going so slow, and then when Act Six happened, I was just like, I I wasn't considering quitting reading it. I know a lot of people who quit reading it. I was committed to reading to the end, but I was just like, oh my God, like more characters, and like they're slightly different and everything's like slightly more complicated. I'm not in the right mindset to love the Alpha Kids, and I know that makes me like a grumpy old timer, and I apologize. I understand the Alpha Kids are very popular. Anyway, just like off the cuff, Jane is a B. Again, I like people in the B row. I like them. They're funny. They're interesting. She's a grandma who's a teenager, like the personality of a grandma in the character of a teenager. That's interesting. A lot of the other stuff about Jane, I don't think is interesting. Roxy is an A for me. She's funny. She's unique. She has an interesting power that doesn't really like make any sense at the end, but like it's interesting for her to do it, I guess. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think if I like her enough to make her S. Um, S row is making me look a little misogynist. I don't know. And we got the ladies here in row A. Since I said that, now she has to be in row A. That was a weird thing to say. Dirk, I mean, this is going to be the most like divisive part of the video, probably if you're actually watching this. Like, I just can't get down with Dirk. He was not interesting to me. He was not where like my head was at. I was not like interested in what Dirk's gonna do next or anything like that. I'm trying not to count the epilogues in this tier list because I don't think it feels weird to count that because it just introduces so much other stuff and other behavior. Um, for me, the epilogues, if we were counting the epilogues and everything kind of holistically, I would bump Dirk up to a B. But because I'm not including the epilogues, I'm putting him in C. I'm sorry. I understand he has all this depth and people like him and blah blah blah. It's just he's not he's not for me. And then Jake, same thing. Just did not find him as interesting as the other characters. Oh, God, should I bump someone up to the B? I'm gonna bump Dirk up to B. Jake will stay in C. He's funny. I mean, like, again, everyone here in C, they're fine. Like they're good. It just he just feels like he kind of peters out. The fact that in like at the end of the comic when they have all those like final conversations on the lily pad and his conversation is about not being important, like that is kind of funny and interesting, but it's also just like, wow, this like character never really like amounted to anything, at least for me. Okay, that's the Alpha Kids. I'm sorry, I'm not a Alpha Kid girly. I just that wasn't my era. Um, and I didn't kind of like live with those characters as long. I was not like drawing those characters. I was not looking at fan art of those characters. It just wasn't really my era. Okay, Damara, the reason why this tier exists. Removed from the comic. This is a stupid character. I don't like this character. Rufio, I don't care. Matuna, I drew a fan art of Matuna once because I thought he was like kind of an interesting. I put him in D, whatever. Half of these characters like problematic in some sort of way. I don't have time to interrogate that right now because I don't want to spend another 30 minutes on this. Yeah, half the characters in Homestuck are problematic, and then half of those half are like intentionally problematic for interesting reasons. The other half are just like writing mistakes. I don't know. Whatever. Cancri. I'm putting him in D just because like he's interesting. Sort of. I think it's a very I'm sorry. When the episode with the Dance Sisters came out was probably the most fed up I have ever been when reading it. When that update dropped, because I was just like, first of all, please, you're gonna make us learn 12 more characters. I'm gonna die. And I'm like, I hate these people. Like, which I guess is the point. I don't know. It's there are also supposed to be like caricatures of people on the internet, right? But like these caricatures just felt so much more specific and cruel than the other like 16 characters up until this point. Like Kankuri is just like a very specific criticism of like a righteous Tumblr user, and I don't know. Like at the time it made me feel bad for the righteous Tumblr user. Like I thought it was like too cruel on Hussey's part. I guess now with like years of hindsight, I like kind of get the joke a little bit more, but I still think um it kind of like teeters onto like anti woke or whatever. Like I don't know. It seems like a caricature of supposedly left leaning people that was very popular on the internet at the time, and it was kind of frustrating to see that as a character. Maybe my interpretation was totally off, but just like he didn't do anything for me. Yulin, D. I like that she uses sign language. Actually, you know what? Just for that, she's getting a C because she's interesting. She's cool. You don't care. I just don't know enough about this character. I'm sorry. Rainy is cool. Rainy is a good villain, interesting character, interesting like interacts with the other characters in an interesting way. I'll put her in the A tier just for that. Probably like the sort of like Arania arc, if you want to call it that, like that arc of the story was probably with like Game Over or whatever it was called. Was one of like the few times where it felt like it was like a traditional story with like traditional twists and villains and battles and stuff. It was almost like the most shonen manga that the comic ever feels is during that part. And I'm not saying that that's what the whole comic should be, but I think that was an interesting era to play in. Probably some of my favorite stuff in Act Six is involves her, so I got to give her points for that. Don't care, or maybe like shouldn't even be. I don't know. Don't care. Don't care. Removed from the comic. It's just I don't know. Lengthy like other kin joke. I feel like no matter what you feel about it, it just was kind of like a waste of time. I don't know what to say about Mina. She's interesting and she has a lot to do with she's intertwined with Vriska and intertwined with the story, so I'll give her a B. Um I don't know if like Hussey was the best person to write this character, but maybe that's not for me to be the judge of, but whatever. Oh my god, how am I gonna get through all these characters? There's so much I want to say, but I also want to get back to my life. I gotta clean the apartment. I gotta do work. Okay, Calliope and Caliborn. I'm so torn on. how I feel about these characters. Um, I don't know. They're like allegories for two types of internet fan. Um, I probably feel more conflicted about them now than I did at the time. I thought they were probably more interesting at the time. Like Caliborn is like awful, but he's awful in a way that is like makes for an interesting villain, especially a villain of a story that is about being a teenager on the internet and interacting with teenagers on the internet. He is like the ultimate final boss of teenagers on the internet. So like that is kind of interesting. I think that it gets really weird later. Like when you finish the comic, you're almost kind of like sympathetic to him and almost like feel bad that like he got bullied and he might be like physically disabled or neurodivergent or like who knows what is going on. And it's like, should we even be beating up on him this bad? I don't know. It was like there's like a depth to Caliborn that I almost wish wasn't there because it makes it. I mean, maybe that is what makes it interesting though, is that it's hard to swallow like how you feel about him. And then same thing with Calliope. It's like I don't know. At the time, my interpretation of Calliope as a teenager when I was reading it was that Calliope was sort of if Caliborn was some version of like toxic masculinity, then Calliope was a beacon of like positive femininity or like positive fangirling, positive how to be kind to your friends and stuff like that. So I really liked that. But then like I know like on Homestuck Made This World, the podcast, their interpretation of Calliope is a little more gray. And then like I don't know. I just don't know. It's like you shouldn't act like Caliborn, but I'm also like maybe you shouldn't act like Calliope either. I don't know, but her presence in the comic is interesting. The conversations go on too long, but I also am going on too long. Dad is an S. That's like easy. Nothing more to say about that. One of the best characters in Homestuck. Nana, sure. I mean, these characters have way less depth, so I'm kind of going based on like design and jokes and stuff. Yeah, Nana's cool. Sure. Colonel Sasker, I don't care. More than I don't care. I don't know, remove him from the comic. Mom is cool. I kind of wish like her personality was fleshed out a little bit more like Dad's is. I don't feel like you really get a good idea of who Mom is. I know it's like kind of intentional, but then when you get to Roxy, it's like, oh, was I supposed to know anything about this person? Bro, again, these are retweets are not endorsements. I don't know. Like the gag is kind of like not as funny as it seemed at the time, not because of like the way that the comic interprets it as like actual abuse, but just like it's very internet bro. Um so like I guess I wished for a little bit more from that. Grandpa Harley, I don't really care, but I'll put him in C. Is this Pop Pop, aka John? Um sure. Lucy, I don't care. Tinkerbell is fine. Pokemon, Tinkerbell, Pokemon, Bull motif, sure. The Biclops thing, sure. Crab Dad is like one of my favorite Lucy. Maybe it's because I like Car Cat. A cat with two little kitty cat mouths, meowths. That's great. That's A tier. Mother Grub, B tier, sure. Dragon, B tier, sure. It's cool. Spider Mom, B tier, sure. Arthur, I mean, this is like it's awful, but it's slightly fun. Like, I don't know what don't judge me based on where I put Arthur. There is some really funny stuff. Where was Mina? I don't B. I might have just messed up where Mina was. I don't know. There is some funny stuff with Arthur with the like butler who makes milk. Goat Dad, I don't care. Seahorse, sure, the design. I mean, the design is just whatever. It's just a seahorse. It's white, but as like a mighty steed underwater, that's fine. Glove is cool. Harlequins. Homestuck made me like really obsessed with Harlequins. Harlequin Sprite, fine. Nana Sprite, S tier. That's just funny. I'm sorry, that's just funny. Your dead cat reincarnated as a Cthulhu princess. That's funny. That's cool. Crow Sprite. I don't know. Cool design, so I'll put it there. Cal Sprite. I don't care. Dave Sprite. Come on. If I'm gonna put Dave in the top, I'm gonna put Dave Sprite at the top. No further explanation. Beck Sprite, sure. Yeah, I need to be careful. I feel like I'm like breaking everything. Jade Sprite, I don't know. I would have to like reread the comic to like really look at the conversations and like compare and contrast her against Jade to see if I should put her higher or lower. Um, this was like there was. I'm gonna put her in like C. This was like BS in the sense that it was like Jade was like, I'm so much more mature than you now. And it's like, isn't this you from like 2 days ago? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that was the weird thing about Act 5, Act 2 is like, oh, the characters have grown and changed. I'd be like, this comic started a day ago from their perspective. Why are they like grown and changed? I know, obviously, as a writer, you have to like change the characters and Hussey's writing style changed and the fandom changed, but like, why was Jade Sprite like different? And then I feel like there was some BS of like, oh, she's more emotional now because she's a sprite. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Um, Tavros, I don't care about this. Tavros sprite, this is like body horror and psychological horror on a scale that like actually makes me literally uncomfortable to like read this part of the comic where when Tavros sprite, a person who hates themselves because they're a fusion of two people who hate each other. But it's interesting. Like it makes me like queasy and it like the psychological horror like actually bothers me, but like you got to give it points for taking the swing. I mean, Nepeta Sprite deserves just as high as Nepeta. That I think. Uh, Fafetta Sprite. The joke is that she doesn't talk, but she says really kind and thoughtful things off screen. I think that's kind of funny. It's again, it's like an immature joke, but I don't know. Sure. C. Is this Equius Sprite or Arqueous Sprite? Is this Arqueous Sprite? I think Arqueous Sprite. Arqueous Sprite, I think, is better than the sum of his parts. I think this is like a more interesting character than AR and a more interesting character than Equius. So I will put them in the A tier question mark question mark. I don't know if I can justify that. Okay, you're going down to the B tier. I'm sorry. So then maybe Equius should get knocked down a peg. I don't know. I can't do this. Aerosol Sprite. Basically just a gag character, just like yeah, I mean it's fine, whatever. Frog Sprite, sure. Aradia, whatever, I don't care. I don't care about this. I don't care about this. Sure. I mean, if Art, where's Arthur? I guess he has to go in there. Crab Sprite is great. Um, Crab Sprite is going up here. Okay, Dave Pettisprite. Um, I feel like because I started reading halfway through, I was not primed to be a type of person who would like characters that were introduced really late in the story because I feel like I was kind of locked in. If you weren't introduced by Hivebent, I was kind of locked in to not like you. Dave Pettisprite for a character introduced so late in the story, in like the final 5 minutes of the story, this character is introduced completely random, a fusion between two completely random characters for no real reason plot wise. This, I think, is a great character. I think this is at least A tier. Um, for how little screen time they have and how little conversations they get to have. It is like the culmination is bringing Nepeta back. Nepeta is fun, and getting to bring Nepeta jokes back is fun. It is like the culmination. It's like Dave has his whole character arc, and then it kind of splits into two paths. It is Dave as himself with Carcat as a couple, and then the other path is Dave Petta Sprite, and sort of like the culmination of like learning to live beyond your irony bullshit and your masculinity toxicity and just being like yourself and being sincere and just joking around and being like a fun person and that sort of like gender euphoria, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really one to like be an authority on that, but it just seemed I was happy to see this character show up, and I feel like the fact that they're powerful and they're wise and they like have cool claws, I feel like that was like overall like a win. I don't have anything to say about this character. No, that's not true. Like Cheshire Cat, Rose, yeah, sure. It's a funny idea. Beck is great. Good dog, best friend. G Cat, I don't care. I'm gonna put G Cat. I don't know if this is just because like it's not even like I don't like cats. I like cats. I just G Cat is just a C. They're fine. Whatever. The actual dog, I'll just say I don't care because I don't. Vodka Mutiny or whatever this thing is called. Sure. B. Casey the Salamander is an A. I'll give you an A for a four-eyed cat. I'll put this. You got it. I can't. The Nacodiles, the crocodiles that go knack 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 knack. I mean, that's an A for sure. The iguanas. This is nothing. Like this is. They don't get to do anything cute or funny. Um. So yeah, for these whatever these are called consorts, they actually are going to different tiers. Spade Slick. Um, I feel like one of the best characters in the comic. Best use of like the problems through style, just like storytelling through narration without having dialogue. I think Spade Slick is like the epitome of that. Cool character, cool design, does cool stuff. Him when he's all like roboed up, that's a downgrade a little bit, just a little bit. I think he was cooler before. I don't know if I have strong feelings about the rest of the Midnight Crew, besides the fact that I like them and think they're generally funny. Again, I haven't reread this, so if they're like canceled, like don't tell me, I guess. I can't go through the felt and have like actual opinions about them, especially because I don't remember them. This is the one that fights Carcat, right? Um, I'll give him a B. I'll give Crowbar a B. I'll give Snowman a B. And I'll give whoever this is a B. Everybody else, I just don't. I don't have any opinions. It's not that they're bad, it's that I don't have an opinion on them. Doc Scratch, this is probably my favorite of the villain characters. So I'll put him in A. It's not that I wanted him to be the villain the entire run. I think that would get really exhausting. But I think that his little arc, his era of the comic is interesting. So that's where he goes. Lord English is a downgrade for me from Doc Scratch and sort of a downgrade from Caliborn, but like an interesting combination of them. I probably like Lord English more now because of the podcast I keep referring to, Homestuck Made This World, their interpretation of Lord English as like a symbol of someone who doesn't care about fan work, doesn't care about fan fiction, doesn't care about RP, someone who wants to like destroy all of this extraneous community stuff and just wants to keep the cold engine of the story looping forever. I think that's a really cool interpretation of this character and might have been Hussey's intention. So that actually I think makes Lord English more interesting, but in practice, I do really like the flashes of when he was formed and when he's like destroying all those planets. I think those are two really good animations. But otherwise, don't care. Jack Noir going wild. That's S. This I mean this stuff like this, the like chess battlefield, Jack Noir, the Harlequins, the crazy powers, like that was why I started reading in the first place. And that will always have like a warm place in my heart. So I feel like Jack Noir has to go up there. And then Beck Noir, very iconic, but so is Jack Noir before the dog form. Also very iconic. They're both really iconic to me. It's so hard to pick one or the other. Design wise, I think they're tied. But in terms of like writing wise, like in the plot, I think this is like overall becomes a downgrade for Jack Noir, especially in Act Six, where he like this character who's been like the villain the entire time just doesn't do anything interesting at all in Act Six and at all in the final battle. So like, not that I liked the final battle with him, but like didn't feel like it had any significance anymore. While this version of Jack Noir, you can't see my cursor, but like this version of Jack Noir with the Harlequin stuff was like the keystone of the whole plot and the whole aesthetic of the comic. So like he has to get S. This version of Jack Noir, they're just getting like progressively downgraded. I don't even know which Jack Noir this is, but just for being Jack, he'll get a B. I don't remember what this is. Like the Monarch versions of these guys are fine. I'm still not going fast enough. I'm truly not going fast enough. This is too much time to dedicate to ranking Homestuck characters. This is not as much. This is not how much of your day you should dedicate to ranking Homestuck characters. The Black Queen with all the Harlequin stuff. I don't know. B, cool character, sure. The Black King. Who cares, right? Like, I love all the chess motif stuff, but like, who actually cares about the kings? Which is like kind of the point. The white one kind of looks like a Homestar Runner character, which is funny. The White Queen, I don't really care because there's another version coming up. Wayward Vagabond, aka the Mayor, aka WV. Another part of the reason why I started reading the comic. Um, Other character with great like narration storytelling instead of dialogue. PM is great. I love PM. Quest to get the mail back and the way that like sort of through time and war and bloodshed how she wants to deliver the mail, I think that's really cool. And then it becomes personal because Jack kills her friends, so now she actually has like a non-joke reason to be on like a quest. I think that's really cool. AR is going to be a downgrade, but I still like him. He's in B. He's okay. I haven't reread the comics. I don't remember, but I remember him being okay. Same thing with the White Queen when she's exiled. She's fine. Yeah, PM upgraded. Feels weird to get PM upgraded higher than Jack upgraded, so I guess I'm gonna do that. Adult alternate Rose. I don't super care. There's more I could say about it, but it's just not time. I don't remove this character. I don't like this character to remove them. Don't care. We gotta. I could either say I don't care about these ancestors because I don't super care, or I could try to be more nuanced about it, or I could just go based on design. I don't know what would be best to do. Um, I mean, this is like I don't care about that. I don't care about this. Frankly, I don't care about this character. Frankly, I don't really care about this character. Um, Everyone else can just go in the sea. I like the when this guy gets all messed up in the drawing, the flashback where he's all like, oh, he's like tied up, like getting like absorbed into the spaceship. That's cool. Jesus parody, who says a cuss word. Wait, I'm actually gonna like put this higher up. Yeah, D, sure. C, pirate with weird sexual themings in the story or something. I don't remember. The Condes, I don't know. I don't think Hussey did a good job of writing this character. Their design is cool. I'll put them there. Don't care about this. Don't care about this. This is it was kind of a funny gag, but if I would say like to remove anything from the comic, I don't know if we need the Juggalos and the other people. The crow that delivers the discs. This should be an I don't care, but I'm just gonna put it in B because it's funny that it's even on the tier list. Sure, you're a B. Maple I mean, like this was like so that sort of first era of Homestuck with all these like animal sidekicks, which is like very much playing to that sort of like narration problem sleuth style of like silly silent storytelling. So that's fine. Serenity the Firefly, sure. Um, the Terry Kaiser or whatever, Liv Tyler, whatever this bunny is called. It's very funny that one of the hosts of Homestuck Made This World despises this character. Like this character even existing, which I think for like justified reason of just like it being like a anticlimactic, weird little random monkey taco, like silly narwhal joke. But whatever, it's fine. The bro bot, like I don't like which one is AR? Like is AR this cropped pair of glasses? Because AR is fine, but not as good as Arqueus. So C for AR. Bro, I mean, is Brobot a character? I don't know. The bunny, C. Based completely on design, these robots are fine. Dirk's robots, yeah, like based on design. Imperial drones based on design, again, they're fine. Terezi's dragon, like this is like ridiculous. This is even. I feel like Terezi's dragon's already on this list. Is this a different dragon? I don't care. I'm putting this in. I don't care. The Genesis frog. For this, I will rate it on like what did I think of the idea that the universe was a frog. I thought that was cool. I don't know. I thought that was fun. Another thing on Homestuck Made This World that those hosts think is kind of silly. I don't know. I thought it was cool. I thought the reveal that this was all like a Genesis story. This was like the origin of life and the origin of universes. That was like the whole point of Homestuck. I thought that was a really cool reveal. The fact that it's an animal, I thought that was really cool. At the time that this came out, I was really into frogs, so that's cool. So Genesis Frog is cool. Imaginary Rufio, I don't care. I don't care about Nick Cage. Latula is all the way down here for some reason. Um, she can go in D. Alternate Calliope, who is more stoic, is fine by me. I think having a version of Calliope who went down a very different life path and acts very differently, but has like the ultimate power and stuff, that's like an interesting idea. I don't feel like she plays an interesting role in the story, but as like a counterpart to Calliope, I'll take it. Ms. Paint, cute little side character that was unnamed, but then people called her Ms. Paint because it was a joke on the program MS Paint on mspaintadventures.com. I thought that was funny. Sure. I don't know where to put Little Cal. There's part of me that he should be like removed from the comic, please, or like execute this in a different way than it was executed in the story. Um, but as like a creepy little horror creepypasta type thing contributing to the villain, I think it's sort of interesting. So I'll put him in C. Mother Grub Sprite. I don't care. You can go in not B. Let's be honest. C. And then Andrew Hussey, not the person like themselves as a real person in real life, but ranking this as like as the fictional character Andrew Hussey that appears in the comic. Sometimes it's obnoxious and it's like, please stop doing this, please stop appearing, especially in Act 6. I thought a lot of that was stupid, but before that, I thought it was okay and occasionally funny. So I will put him in B, I guess. So that's everybody. So to wrap this all up, let's go from the bottom to the top. In Removed from the Comic, please. That's Damara, Cronus, is that his name? Colonel Sassacre, the Handmaiden, is that her name? Juggalos, and Guy Fieri. I just did not get anything out of those characters. I would be totally fine if they were completely removed. Characters I have no strong feelings about are these. I'm not listing them because I don't have strong feelings about them. D. Fairy. Sorry for Fairy for being one of like the original 16 characters that has been brought down to this level. There are some truly ridiculous characters who got placement above you, mostly because of their design or because they were funny. But Fairy, this guy, Matuna, Latula, Cankry, the iguanas, because they never did anything funny. So that was why they got knocked down. The Sufferer, the Signless, whatever this guy's name is. Don't really care. C tier, Aradia. Sorry, Aradia fans. Solix. Sorry, Solix fans. Sorry to all these people. Eridan, Jake, Mulin, Bro. Again, like this does not mean that they're bad. Like C is good. Don't get it like twisted with like thinking of this as like some sort of sliding scale. Like C is they're in C because they're fine. Like that's why I put them here. Yulin, mostly because she uses sign language, was cool. Bro, Grandpa Harley, Grandpa Pop Pop, the freaking Biclops. Jade Sprite, just because I don't think the differences between Jade Sprite and Jade were interesting. Tavris Sprite makes me like actually physically uncomfortable, but I think that gives it credit as being like an interesting little thing. Fafetta, interesting gag about cool female character who never gets to talk. I mean, again, like when you make gags like that, I feel like the better thing to do is just actually have cool female characters that talk. But in Homestuck's defense, I feel like the gender spread is in terms of female characters talking, I feel like is pretty good. So that I wouldn't hold that against Homestuck. Aerosol is like pretty much symmetrical with the Feta Sprite as not mattering, and this time it's just like a jerk who hates himself. So that was funny. Frog Sprite, G Cat. Just don't think it was as interesting as Beck. A bunch of the ancestors. AR is in here. I think AR is funny, but I think Arqueus is more interesting and more funny. So that is why AR is down here. Lil Seb, Lil Cow, Mother Grub Sprite. Okay, and then B is where most of the comic went. Aradiabot. Tavros is here. Again, interesting character. Like these characters genuinely interest me. Glad they're in the comic. That's why they're up here in B. Nepeta Sprite, Kanaya, Equius, Scamzy, Mina. I mean, like, first of all, I don't have much to say about Mina, but you have to respect from this zodiac sign that we went from Feferi that I put all the way down here to Mina. I feel like the point of Mina even existing as a character was just to give the Pisces fans something to like latch onto. So mission accomplished on that regard. Jane is here because she's okay, but I think just to not even get into it, I just think the pacing of Act 6 is out of control and the Alpha Kid stuff took too long. Dirk is here for similar reasons. Caliborn and Calliope, I think they're interesting, but I feel very conflicted about them. And their stuff takes way too long. Nana's here. Most of the Luci are here. Arqueus Sprite is here because I think combining AR and Equius creates a character that is funnier than either of the individual ones. Our Thor Sprite is here. Rose, when she turns into a cat, Sprite is here. The Turtles, because they got to do some silly little thing and be in the background. A couple of the Felt are here. Lord English is in here because I don't think he's the best villain. Homestuck has a lot of villains, but not in the same way that like other franchises have a lot of villains. It's like you could say Homestuck has a lot of villains, but it's not like how Batman or Spider-Man has a lot of villains. This is just kind of like different incarnations of the same like four ideas. A bunch of Jack Noirs are in here. The Black Queen with all the Harlequin stuff is in here. AR is in here. Again, I haven't reread this recently, so I don't know if AR is funny or not funny. I just don't really remember. The Windswept Queston is here. Sure, so a bunch of animals are here. Robots are here. Andrew Hussey as a fictional character is here. Alternate Calliope is here. The Genesis Frog as a concept is here. Okay. Now, the characters that I really like. Jade. I like her on her own and as part of like the original ensemble. She was perfect, bubbly, flowery, fangirl, nerdy, dorky. I liked the like precognition, like being able to see the future in the clouds, which like wasn't the game mechanic wasn't fully explained to us yet. So that was like a unique trait. That was the thing. A lot of her unique traits got kind of like sanded off as they became just like general concepts of the comic. By the end of this thing, there's like five characters who can see the future, so it's not really interesting anymore. But then she gets kind of like mid comic upgrade with the god tier, kind of like gave her like a bump in relevance again and a bump in sort of powers. So that was why Jade kind of like hung on. Terezi really loved her in Hivebent. Liked her in Act 4, liked her in Act 5, Act 2. Act 6, I have conflicted feelings, but at least she's there. Vriska, I think she's pretty much equally interesting throughout. Um, really interesting in Hivebent. And just kind of like a disaster character and something that someone who I thought was going to be like a redeemed villain in the beginning, which I guess is sort of what she is. Um, Liked her in Act 5, Act 2. I love the conversations with John and stuff like that. I thought that was great. The relationship between her and John, the flirting, the way that she tries to make him dress like her and act like her, and the way that she's trying to. I would almost say that I think she's manipulating him, but maybe unintentionally. I think she genuinely has a crush on him, and she can't help but manipulate him and try to make him more like her. I thought that was really interesting. Um, the way that in Act 6, after she's dead, she goes on this whole arc where she kind of like Dave's like ends all her BS and like calms down and settles down and learns to love. Like that's cool. Then old Vriska gets brought back as a plot device. I think it's kind of interesting, but it was also really disappointing. I think that the reborn old Vriska is less interesting than the dead Vriska, but also more kind of an active character. So it kind of brought in that like active character versus passive character debate of the story. I'm taking way too long, but there's we could all who among us couldn't write an essay about Vriska? Roxy, she's really cool, she's really funny. Sure, like I don't know what to say. She's cool and she's funny. And there's like people in my life who like remind me of Roxy in a way that makes me smile. So that was also like a fun aspect of it. Um, Arania is cool villain, cool sort of foil against Vriska and stuff like that. Awesome, love it. Mom is cool, mostly because of the design. Crab Lucis, I mean, he's like the OG Lucis. How could you not like that? The Lucis that's just a cat with two mouths. That's fun. Nanos, no, sorry, Harlequin Sprite. Jesters are fun. I like Jesters, and it's mostly because of Homestuck. Crab Sprite, first look we ever got at the crab, technically, which was a fun little tease. Dave Petta Sprite, they're like really clutch last minute addition to the cast, last minute addition to the story. Feel like exploring things that Hussey wanted to talk about like gender binary and like breaking free of that kind of thing, and like I liked that Dave Pettisprite was introduced because it felt like one last kind of gift to the fandom of like, hey, there's probably a lot of non-binary fans, there's a lot of Nepeta fans, a lot of Dave Sprite fans. This is like the final farewell, final sort of thank you for reading. Go crazy with this character. That was cool. Salamanders were funny. Sure. Didn't one of them get like cataloged into John's inventory at one point? Other Vodka Mutiny, or whatever this character's name is. Cute little cat with four eyes, love it. The crocodiles at the stock exchange. Who could hate that? Spade Slick after it gets robo prosthetics and stuff. He's still a good character. Rest of the Midnight Crew, they're cool. Doc Scratch, one of my favorite villainous antagonistic characters, very cryptic. Again, it would have been exhausting if he had been there the whole time. That would have gotten really old really fast. But for that sort of plot dense era of the comic, I think having this like cryptic narrator was a really cool touch. Also, his design is cool. Beck Noir, as the fans say, super cool, super iconic. I've drawn him before. People still reblog that on Tumblr from time to time for some reason. Really cool design. I love the idea of like the jet black dog, godly character. PM's version of that, also cool. The Midnight Crew, but um, as Dursites, sure. Ms. Paint, background character, fun. And then I guess these are my all timers for everyone to know forever. John, uh, Rose, Dave. I'm running out of things to say about these people. Carcat, who's probably technically my favorite. If I had to pick a singular favorite, I would pick Carcat. John and Jane's dad. Uh, Nana Sprite, Cat, Princess Cthulhu. Dave Sprite is fun. Beck is fun. Teleporting God Dog, that's fun. Jack Noir, fun character. Sorry, Spade Slick, fun character. Jack Noir, all powered up, going crazy on the battlefield. That was like peak Homestuck to me. I just love chess motifs and weird little game constructs. All like the idea that the villain of Homestuck up to that point was an NPC in an RPG that got access to like a really powerful weapon and this went off the rails, almost like he's like a side character in like a Baldur's Gate type game or something like that, or a side character in a JRPG, and then like a side, a sort of like a side villain who like got access to really powerful end game loot. I think that is a really cool idea for a character and a really cool idea for like here's a story about a video game that is like going off the rails. Awesome, love the design, love all of it. Wayward Vagabond, liked him throughout. Some of the desert motif stuff was probably a little ill planned, based on like probably the whatever. There's no time to go into it. Not planned well in the plot, and also not planned well in sort of like the way that it was sort of like culturally represented in the fandom. But it is what it is. Wayward Vagabond, PM. Everyone is cool. These are my favorite Homestuck characters. This was not a good use of my time. Thanks for watching. I will not make another other video probably because I don't make videos. So hope you liked this one. Bye.